Now, speaking of throwing it around the boulevard, Preston Stone hasn't done much of that on the boulevard, I don't think, maybe in his offseason here and there. But what he's really done is come in to SMU, put his head down for 2 years, and now it's his time to take over as the starting quarterback for SMU. Preston Stone, a highly touted prospect coming out of high school, where he started Dallas Parish Episcopal. He was a top 150 overall prospect, top 15 quarterback nationally on the On3 industry ranking. Well, now goes to SMU, spends his first 2 years as the backup to Tanner Mordecai. He was pretty close at certain points to really maybe getting the tap on the shoulder, but Tanner Mordecai held him off. Preston Stone did get opportunities here and there, especially this past season. He was able to get his first start under his belt going into Tulsa, but that was when his season was ended early with an injury to his collarbone, and he missed the rest of the season. And now, after going through all of spring, fully healthy, ready to go from day one of spring, it's now his time to take over the quarterback position. And when I look at what he has on paper, completed 28 of 48 passes for 388 yards, 2 touchdowns, while adding 14 carries for 63 yards and 2 more scores. He almost led that comeback against Cincinnati, but fell just short. He's got the ability to extend plays. He was top 25 in terms of yards per attempt, which is a really good indicator overall. Granted, he played everywhere from against North Texas and Lamar to against Cincinnati, Tulsa, programs like that. He is going to come in and have incredibly high expectations to deal with as a first-year starter. If you think about what the expectations were for Tanner Mordecai when he came in, yeah, he played some at OU. Yes, he was transferring down to an SMU, but in reality, he didn't necessarily have a highly touted resume to come back and sit back on and really elevate the expectation level for SMU coming off Shane Buechele. After the last 2 years for SMU and what they've been able to add in the portal and what they've got coming in terms of the AAC schedule they're going to face, all expectations are for Preston Stone this year to be the guy, but not only be the guy, but lead SMU to a conference championship game appearance, which would be the first in quite some time. I think just over 10 years, I believe. So SMU has surrounded Preston Stone with all the tools he needs to be successful. And I think he'll be successful. The biggest question we have is how quickly will he be successful? Because he's played now in a bunch of environments where you expect him to handle just about anything. He's played in blowouts. He as cleanup duty. He's come in at the end of games and come in when Tanner Mordecai got pulled against Tulsa in Sonny Dykes' final game. You also have where he almost led that comeback against Cincinnati, a 2-point try away from forcing overtime. And he goes into Tulsa against one of the top secondaries in all of college football in terms of statistically allowing passing yardages, and those for over 200 yards in about a quarter and a half before getting hurt. He's kind of done a little bit of everything so far for SMU, but he's coming into a position where he absolutely has to win now. And look, we're not going to talk about Pac-12 realignment or college football realignment in general, but SMU needs Preston Stone to deliver. He's an SMU legacy. The storybook is waiting to be written for Preston Stone when it comes to what he can do for SMU football long term. Shane Buechele elevated the program. I believe Tanner Mordecai elevated the program. The expectations can't be higher, really, in terms of what SMU fans are expecting going into the season. You couple the transfer portal haul with some of the key guys they have coming back. And the big question is, how quickly can Preston Stone deliver? And that's what we're going to be watching for. Because, yes, Louisiana Tech, who comes in and will probably be a pesky team, quite honestly. But SMU's favored by about 17 points last I looked. And then you go on the road to Norman. You get a game you should be fine with against Prairie View A&M. And then you go to TCU. Preston Stone's legacy isn't going to be written in those 2 major Power 5 out-of-conference games. His legacy could get off to a really hot start if he wins one of two or wins both. And let me be very clear. I think SMU has the talent, and I think they have the scheme, and I think they have the quarterback to win those games if things go the right way for themselves. But like we saw against Cincinnati when Preston Stone came in, he finished 6 of 15. Nothing to write home about. It was kind of windy. He got an interception called back for a push off. And I do think it's one of those things where you saw him have success against Tulsa and you say, that's where he can really bring it. And you see what he can do with his legs, both against UCF and mop-up duty, as well as against Cincinnati. I thought he did a good job extending plays and things like that. And he also ran well against Tulsa, but ultimately he got hurt running on, a keeper. And I just want to see the overall consistency improve. He's a guy that has the tools to do it. And if he trusts himself and continues to kind of play the way he has when he's been given opportunities, I think he's got the ability to take this team and take this team far. I like the way he manages the football. Look, he's taking his shots down the field. And if you're going to take a shot down the field, and especially if it's a third down shot, I'm okay with it being picked off. It's like a punt. If it doesn't get, caught by an SMU receiver, we'll take the interception in that respect. And I think most coaches would tell you that. I do want to see his ability to throw the football down the field in terms of how quickly he gets it out improve. I think that'll come. Quite honestly, I saw it improve over the course of spring. And I think being smart about how to run with the football and get down and not bite off more than you could chew and things like that is going to be critical for him. But what is ultimately going to determine how we really view Preston Stone this year, at least, is can he lead them to that conference championship game? And I believe that SMU can get there, and Preston Stone's going to be the one to lead them there. And it'd be a really cool story for all that to happen. And the kid that grew up just right down the street from SMU, who's an SMU legacy, who's got all these ties to stay home and do what he did as a 4-star prospect, this is his time. Preston Stone has had enough experience where SMU's coaching staff has pushed the chips in on him. And they said, we're going to trust you and you're going to be our guy. And he's got to deliver. And that's the reality of it. And I think he's got that talent. I do. And it's just a matter of putting it all together. We've seen what SMU's added through the transfer portal. The expectations now are for Preston Stone to capitalize on them. And I think he will.